The Lang house was supposed to be condemned after Kim's disappearance. But for some reason, the paperwork kept getting misplaced. Every time the city tried to tear it down, the records vanished, as if the house refused to be forgotten. Detective Alan Royce hadn't slept in 2 days. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands trembling slightly as he drove toward the edge of Hollow Creek Road. The road twisted through fog, the trees like skeletal hands clawing at the sky. He told himself he was going back for answers, for justice. But the truth was simpler. The voice from that night still whispered to him. Every night at 3:12 a.m., his phone would light up with a notification. New recordings saved, Lang residence basement cam. Even though every camera in the house had been disconnected. When he played the clips, they were always the same, static, a faint laugh, and the sound of something burning. He parked by the gate and sat for a moment, watching the house loom in the distance. The sun was setting behind it, painting the windows a deep crimson. The once white paint had peeled away, exposing blackened wood. It looked less like a home and more like a wound on the landscape. Alan exhaled shakily. One last time, he whispered to himself. Inside, the air hit him like a physical force, hot and dry, as if the house had been holding its breath. The smell of charred timber filled every corner. Yet, there was no visible fire damage. No ashes. He started the recorder again. Detective Royce, Day 7. Returning to the Lang residence. Objective, locate missing evidence. Possible link between historical fire and current disappearances. He didn't know why he said fire. It just came out. The walls seemed closer now, the hallways narrower. The wallpaper had blistered in strange patterns, almost like faces pushing outward from beneath the surface. In the living room, the TV flickered on by itself, a white static hum filling the air. Alan turned slowly. The remote sat untouched on the coffee table. On screen, the static shifted. For a second, he saw Kim, her terrified face, reaching toward the camera, mouthing something he couldn't hear. Then flames erupted behind her on the screen, engulfing everything. Alan stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The image vanished. His pulse thundered in his ears. No. This isn't real. But deep down, he knew the house was remembering. He found the photo album in the kitchen, where Mia had kept it. Half the pages were burned, edges curled and black. The remaining photos were haunting, a young couple, smiling in front of a restored house. And then, one that froze him. The same house, but older, dated 1963. A different family stood there. A man, a woman, and a little girl in a blue dress. The caption, "The Turners are forever home." Alan flipped the page. A newspaper clipping had been glued beside it. The headline read, "Tragedy at Hollow Creek, Fire Claims Family of 3." He scanned the article. Only the body of Margaret Turner was recovered. Her husband and daughter, Emily, remain missing. Emily. Alan felt the air thicken around him. The faint crackle of fire filled his ears. He looked up, the wallpaper shimmered, heat rippling across it like flame. He blinked, and the room was burning. He gasped, stumbling back as smoke filled his lungs. The walls ignited with impossible speed, the ceiling dripping embers. But there was no pain, no heat on his skin. He turned toward the hallway, and saw them. A little girl at the far end, holding a burned doll. Behind her, the shadows twisted, forming a tall, charred figure, the shape of a man. Alan raised his voice. "Emily, what do you want from me?" The girl tilted her head. "You came back," she said softly. "You're one of us now." The figure behind her stepped forward, its body flickering like burnt paper. When it spoke, the voice was deep and broken, like fire crackling through wood. "You have to remember." Alan's vision blurred. Remember what? The world around him began to melt. The wallpaper peeled, the air thick with heat and smoke. Then, a flash. A memory that wasn't his. He saw the same house, decades ago, fresh paint, laughter spilling from open windows. A man, not him, carrying a small child through the doorway. "Come on, Emily, time for bed." Her laughter echoed, pure, joyful. Then the scene changed. The man arguing with his wife. Shouts. Tears. A candle knocked over. Fire spreading fast. The mother running upstairs, screaming the child's name. Emily. The man stood frozen, paralyzed by fear. By the time he moved, the stairs were already flames. He ran out the door. The screams followed him. Alan gasped and stumbled backward as the vision faded. His knees hit the floor. He understood now. The man who escaped, who left his family inside, had lived. Changed his name. The Lang house wasn't cursed. It was the same house, rebuilt on the same ashes. And the guilt had never left. Emily hadn't been haunting random strangers. She'd been calling for the man who abandoned her, her father. The man who became David Lang. Alan's hands trembled as he pieced it together aloud. David Lang wasn't the first owner. He was Turner. He came back here, trying to make it right. But the house remembered. The voice behind him whispered, "And now you remember too." Alan spun around. The little girl stood inches away, her eyes black as tar. Behind her, the walls pulsed, veins of flame crawling through the plaster. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "It's his house." Alan's voice shook. "Emily, he's gone. He can't hurt you anymore." Her expression softened. For the first time, she looked like a child. "Then who burned it again?" Before Alan could answer, the floor cracked beneath him with a deafening roar. The flames swallowed the ceiling, raining sparks. He fell through, crashing into the basement, landing hard on the cold cement. The lights flickered. The room was filled with old photographs, hundreds of them, pinned to the walls. Every photo showed someone who'd entered the house. Every one marked with a black X. In the center of the room, the small wooden door stood open again. Inside, the doll lay waiting, the tag around its neck now reading, "She remembers you." Alan crawled toward it, coughing violently. He reached out, fingertips brushing the doll, and the world erupted into light. He was standing outside, in daylight. The house was gone, replaced by smoldering rubble. Fire trucks lined the road, sirens wailing. A paramedic ran up to him. "Sir, are you all right? We found you unconscious by the old foundation." Alan stared, disoriented. What happened to the house?" The man frowned. "That house burned down 50 years ago, sir. There hasn't been anything here since." Alan turned back. The ground was cold. No sign of the structure. But in the ashes at his feet, something glinted, a porcelain fragment. Half a doll's face, the mouth still smiling. He picked it up. The ash burned his skin. And then, faintly, from somewhere deep below the earth, a whisper. "You promised you'd stay." That night, Alan's apartment filled with smoke. He woke coughing, ran to the hallway, but there was no fire. Just the faint sound of a child laughing through the vents. At exactly 3:12 a.m., his phone buzzed. New recording, the burning walls.mp4. He pressed play. The footage showed him, standing in his own living room, asleep. Behind him, on the wall, fire began to bloom, slow, crawling upward. In the reflection of the window, a small figure stood beside him, holding his hand.